Hey, this is Matt Snyder. This video was not created to mock but to inform. I am not lazy, I am not a zombie. I am, however, quite well informed. In this video I will show in chronological order how the concerns you raise are faulted. Okay, let's start with the Earth is flat 100% proof Pt1. In this video you state that according to science gravity holds us to the Earth, and that the ocean weighs tons and tons of pounds. And you ask if the ocean is so heavy, and we have the same gravitational force pushing down on us, why does the water simply not fall off of the Earth? The water does not fall off the Earth because all matter is attracted to other matter, much like oxygen atoms are attracted to one another, or how animals like to stay in packs. Gravity is quite simply the force of attraction between one or more atoms toward one another. So when an apple falls from a tree, it is pulled toward the Earth, but the Earth is also pulled toward the apple, but the apple does not have enough mass to make a measurable pull toward the Earth. Next you say that the Earth is spinning 1,000 miles per hour. It is, however, the point you made was if you take a ball and put water on it and spun the ball 1,000 miles an hour, the water would fly off. It would, but only if you did this experiment on Earth, because the mass of the Earth would have a greater pull on the water and the ball. If you were to do this experiment in the vacuum of space, the water would stay on the ball, because the ball would have the greatest attraction to the water. The next point you make is that we could not possibly be moving around the sun at 67,000 miles per hour. However, velocity is only relative to one point in space-time to another. For instance, when you're in a car you could be moving quite fast. In fact, if your car is moving at 67 miles per hour, you and everything in your car is also moving at that speed, but it is not always apparent. Take for example, if you have a ball in your car, and you drop it, it should fly backwards because your car is moving away from it really fast, but it will simply fall toward the Earth because it was accelerated to the same velocity. This is why you are able to remain seated at high speeds. If speed and velocity were not relative, you would be ripped out of the back of your car violently whenever you tried to drive. You also asked why clouds are not moving faster. The truth is they are moving much faster than you think. For example, when you see a plane, it seems to crawl across the sky, but that is only because the distance between you and it changes your perspective. Despite how slow it appears to be moving, it is traveling hundreds of miles an hour. You also say that it should be much more windy if we would really be moving that fast. But the fact is, space is a vacuum, so there is no resistance. And wind is caused by the movement of higher energy air molecules to lower energy molecules. This is a golden rule: energy moves from high to low. This is how electrons travel to give us electricity. It is why there are water currents that flow around the Earth, and why warm air rises and cool air sinks. You then state Bible verses as evidence. While I have no grounds to refute the Bible, I have even less evidence to support it. Next you explain that you cannot see the curvature of the Earth from pictures taken on Earth. While this would be a compelling argument, the horizon in the curve. Not to be ignorant, but I do not believe that Anand thinks the world is much bigger than the yard its colony resides in. While you cannot see a defined curvature of Earth from pictures taken on Earth, NASA and the Russian cosmonaut program have taken pictures of Earth that show a spherical planet. Two different groups that for much of the space race and all of the Cold War were enemies. They would not share information, let alone conspire together. But here is a test you can do. Get access to a telescope, and you will be able to see satellites and the Hubble orbiting Earth, which would be impossible if it was flat. You go on to say that there is an unseen body eclipsing the moon. I do not believe this to be the case. The human race is able to see Triton from Earth. In case you do not know what that is, it is the third moon of Saturn. So if we can see the third moon of Saturn, we would have probably found a second moon around the Earth. Then you continue to say the moon and sun are the same size. That is very inaccurate. The moon is 238,900 miles away. When we landed on the moon, we planted a receiver. The job of the device is simply to reflect lasers that is pointed at the moon. Now we know how far away the moon is because light travels at 299,792,458 meters per second. Knowing this, we can take how long it takes the light to return to Earth to calculate the distance. The Sun has a diameter of 6.96342 times 10 to the 5th times 2. We know this because of other celestial bodies used references which gave us not only the size of the Sun, but also the distance from Earth based on the rotation time of the Earth around the Sun. The Sun is 92,960,000 miles away. Now, even though the Sun is much larger than the moon, it appears the same size, because it is much farther away than the moon. If you take a pea and walk a mile from it, it and an atom would appear to be the same size, but they are not. After that, you go on to say that buildings should be bigger at the top and at the bottom, if the world was round. Now, I won't argue that if a building was jetting out into space, the top would have to be bigger like in the cartoons, but if you look up at the Washington Monument, from the bottom it appears to get much larger at the top. However, when you walk away from it and look up, it seems to get smaller at the top. It is all perspective. Buildings are simply not big enough for it to be in the best interest of the structure to design them that way. You then go on to say that the continents should all be pushed together. Well, they were Pangea, and they are constantly moving on the crust of the Earth. At the end of the video, you state something that is not true. You say that gravity pulls down. It does not. Imagine the Earth like a ball in space. You put an ant on the top and an ant on the bottom of this ball. Both of the ants will think they are right side up because that is their perspective, and the ball's gravitational pull on them will keep them attached to the ball.